Body image. Everywhere we turn, there's advice about our bodies. Diet tips, exercise routines, wonder products to change our shape. But could worrying about the way we look impact on our future health?
Well, there's actually been a lot of research that's done with young people that's asked them how they feel about their own bodies. And most of the statistics suggest that between 50 to 70% of young people are concerned about their body image. They don't like the way they look. And in fact, it's actually more normal now for somebody not to like their body than for them to like how they look. Well, we go into schools, often high schools, co-educational settings is best, so working with both boys and girls, because we know that both of them are concerned about how they look. And generally we go into schools and we talk about issues about body image and how young people feel about their bodies. And we also ask them what influences the way in which they feel about their bodies. So is it their friends, is it their media, is it the parents, is it the school environment? And often they'll say it's a combination of those things. And they tend to tell us that they do feel a lot of pressure to look a certain way and often to fit in with the way they see celebrities in the media. But also they're very conscious at the same time of the things that go on to create the images that we see. So most young people are very aware that, you know, a lot of airbrushing goes on and that they're not the most realistic image. But sometimes it's kind of difficult because even if you do know that, the fact that those images are still there makes you want to look like them anyway.
Looking at all the nice slim models, they're very beautiful, but like I said, I don't think they really promote how normal girls should really look. There's a lot of pressure from magazines and stuff like that, so there is definitely a lot of pressure, yeah.
But I think everyone tries to live up to expectations of celebrities all the time.
Well, it's not just celebrities, it's some designers as well. I mean, you've got I think Rockaware jeans sort of only do up to a size 32. I think it's something like so it's not just pressure from celebrities, it's designers as well.
Yes, and I think it's sort of reached an all-time high at the minute because there just seems to be every week another magazine that hits the shelves that's talking about the way people look in their bikini and so yeah, I think there's an inordinate amount of pressure.
It's basically saying that if you don't look like this, then you are basically beautiful and attractive, and that's not true.
I spent a long time working in retail years and years ago, and I think retail has changed so that it does make more of a, you know, that there is more of a concerted effort to make nice clothes available to everybody. However, at an event like this, it certainly is aimed at the smaller end of the market.
I feel that, especially in the fashion industry, there's not enough voluptuous women.
Skinny celebs, I don't know, I think they can be a bad influence because people want to be like them, don't they? And then they'll end up with unhealthy diets and it's just...
But if they diet, make themselves sick just to be skinny, it's a little bit...
Like if you see a celebrity that you really like, you just want to look like them. And when you've got the small boobs, you just want to look like...
Jordan.
Yeah.
Well, obviously body image is about how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about how we look and how other people perceive we look. And this is obviously really important in terms of our self-confidence and so on. I think the concern, particularly at the moment, is that for young people that's about being skinny, about being very, very thin. And in terms of osteoporosis, we know that having a very low body weight, and particularly the condition anorexia nervosa, does put us at risk of poorer, less strong bones in the future. This is partly because we're not getting the nutrients that we need to keep our bones strong, but it's also an effect on our hormone levels. So there is a real concern that in seeking to have a very positive body image and feel good about yourself, you might be putting yourself at osteoporosis risk for the future.
So, you know, in terms of why or how children get to have sort of low amount of fat, you know, one can have lower weight in two kind of different ways. One is just kind of dieting, and you know there is certainly a fad sometimes for sort of excess dieting to try and, you know, achieve kind of the kind of figure that, you know, one sees in magazines and things. And so when you kind of get to a low fat mass just through dieting, the concern is that might be, you know, harmful for a number of different aspects of health. But on the other hand, I mean, you know, obviously we're in the middle of an obesity epidemic, so I'm not saying that everybody should be eating lots, but it's just as a balance between kind of being sensible with your food and actually just overdoing it to become, you know, really underweight. The other way of reducing weight is also to do more exercise, and so I think you could potentially speculate that getting to a low fat mass through dieting is actually worse for your bone than getting there through increasing exercise, because there are clearly benefits of increasing exercise, not just for general health but also for bones. So it's just really a matter of, I think, a sort of a balanced exercise, a balanced sort of healthy lifestyle, combining sort of healthy eating with sort of greater physical activity.
Well, when I was about 21, I started a diet which started off fairly sensibly, but then got out of control, and I really thrived on losing weight and felt like I was achieving something by getting thinner. And what was meant to be a sensible diet to lose half a stone or a stone ended up just progressing, and I lost more and more weight. And it went on, it was actually a couple of years before I went to a really low weight. When I got to about 7.5 stone, my family really started to notice, but I hadn't noticed it then. I didn't think it was a major problem, and I wasn't unhealthily underweight. But by then it sort of become a bit of an obsession, and it was something that I couldn't stop. I did go and see a doctor then because my family were worried, but because I was just eating healthy, low-fat food, he didn't think that there was necessarily a problem. So it carried on until I got to a really, really low weight, and then I was aware of it and admitted to myself and to my family that I did have anorexia, and then I started to seek help from a local eating disorders unit. And it was around then that they started doing tests to see what effect that was having on my body. And in order to get onto an eating disorders program, I had a number of tests which showed up low bone density and osteoporosis in my spine. Well, I was first diagnosed with osteoporosis when I was extremely underweight. I was 32 kilos at the time, and everything was I was very delusional about everything. I couldn't really take any information in. And I remember that I was with my dad, and he said, the fact that you've got osteoporosis, does that not make you want to get better? But it didn't. I knew that my heart was at risk. I knew that I had osteoporosis, but none of those things really penetrated because I was so obsessed with not eating and so starved. And it was only really once I started to get better that it kind of dawned on me. And because at that time then I wanted to do all the things that everybody does. I wanted to go out running, skiing, cycling, all the active stuff that when you're really underweight you can't do anyway. First time I became aware of the sort of fragility of my bones was when I went to a roller disco with my friends, and it's like a 1970s roller disco. And I was a bit nervous anyway, but flying around and stuff, and I fell backwards and put both my hands down to stop me, and the sort of shudder went up my arms, and I managed to fracture both my elbows. At first I didn't know, went home, went to bed, woke up in the morning and couldn't lift my arms. And ended up in the hospital, and they did an x-ray and said that's what had happened.